Okay, moving on to the next part of this, we are going to go ahead and get the chaos portion all set up and ready to go. So the first thing you're going to do is make sure that you have chaos downloaded. You're going to have the latest version. I'm on a beta one here because we're doing testing, so yours is going to be a different version than mine. Just make sure you have the latest one downloaded and you should be in good shape. You'll notice that it might come up and give you a question saying that it appears the device may have been power cycled. Have you calibrated the axis when you last shut down the software? If you say yes, it's going to hold on to the calibration as long as nothing is moved. As long as it's still in the same spot when it all shut down, you can bring it back up and keep this and keep the calibration. So just something to be aware of. So I'm going to go ahead and say no because we're going to set this all up from scratch. Now, the first thing that we need to do is, and I'm not going to do a full tutorial on chaos. I don't really want to do that. Scott's got a lot of really good ones out. I recommend going to the Kessler KOS website and go down to the resources and learning center, and what you'll find is a whole group of, or a whole bunch of tutorials on chaos. It'll show you everything you need to know. So if you've never used chaos before, I recommend going and trying that out and making sure that you have, or taking a look through those and just getting a decent primer, because I'm really just going to cover the steps necessary to connect with Unreal. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we need to calibrate the motors, or calibrate the axis, so it knows the position data to send to Unreal. So I'm going to start with the slider, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this. In fact, I'm going to pan it first, so I can actually get it where I want it to be. And now I'm going to slide it, just because I don't want it to hit the motor. So we're going to bring this down. I'm going to center this right there, and I'm going to go ahead and say mark begin. And now we're going to bring this down to the other side. And right about a little bit more, right about there, I'm going to say mark end. And now on here, I want to make sure that it shows inches, and I'm going to put, since I'm only moving 24 inches, I'm going to do -12 and +12. And that way, when I go to 0, this thing should center right back up into the middle where it's supposed to be. And that looks perfect. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the pan. I'm going to bring it 90 degrees over to the left. Bump that back a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to take time. Make sure you do a good job on this. So I can say mark begin, and now we're going to go the other way. Okay. Kind of bump that in place. Maybe just give it a little tug. Okay, that looks good. It looks like it's straight at the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and say mark end. And now in here, I want to make sure it says degrees. I'm going to do a minimum of -90 and a positive of 90. That means the 0 point should be in the middle, just like that. And now also with the tilt, what I'm going to use is I've got a digital angle gauge that I use. These things are really handy and they're cheap, and you can just kind of hold it up on the top of this thing. And then I'm going to go to the tilt, and I'm going to tilt this puppy back 30 degrees. Actually, I'm going to go forward 30 degrees. Yeah, get this in a place where I can see a little bit better. This is less than ideal. I should probably just attach it somehow, but I'll get around to that. So we're doing 25, 6, 7, 8. Okay, that's 30 degrees. So we're marked begin. Now I'm going to bring it back the other way to 30 degrees. Okay, that's pretty much dead on. So I'm going to hit mark end. And now in here, I once again to make sure it's degrees, and I'm going to do -30 and +30. Okay? And then I'm going to tell it to go to 0. And that should be pretty much straightforward, dead centered. All right, very good. Now that we have that, we want to set up the Unreal portion. So you're going to go on this little button right here and click this, and it's going to bring up the Unreal Engine setup. You want to make sure it's enabled, so it's on. And then in the IP address, you're going to want to have the IP address of the machine that's going to be handling the display. In this case, it's the same one that's used as the editor, and it's the same one that's used for Chaos. So I'm just going to put 127.0.0.1. And then I want to go through and make sure the connections all look correct. something that I have run into. If you have multiple pan tilts, each time you plug one of them in, it's going to create a new device. So you have here, this is my Cineshooter Plus. This one here is my Cineshooter. And then this one here is something else. We'll not worry about that just yet. Anyway, so if you're trying to move this and you're finding you're not sending the data on rail, you might want to check and make sure you have the right device name. Anyway, so you're going to want to go through and just check these and make sure they all look correct. So you have the pan axis. It just says description of pan. This is the KOS device. The device is the Cineshooter, the pan axis. And then the device, the virtual camera here, camera ID 1, and camera function pan. Now, if I change this from pan to roll, if I turn the pan, the virtual camera is going to roll into the pan. So this all needs to be correct. And then I need to make sure that what I set up over here in the corner is correct for the minimum, maximum values for camera 1. So on the pan, you saw I had negative 90 and 90. On the tilt, I only did a negative 30 and 30. And then for the X position, this is the slide. This needs to be entered in centimeters. So I did it in inches. So 12 inches by 2.54 gets you 30.48 inches. So I'm just going to do 30 inches, or 30, I'm not sorry, inches, centimeters. It gets you 30.48 centimeters. I'm going to put 30 and 30. Now, anytime I move this camera, it should match what's going on in Unreal. So now we have all those set up. And also make sure that you're on the right camera ID as well, because you can set it to different camera IDs if you're moving different things. And we'll get to that a little bit later. Right now, I just want to get the pan, tilt, and slider up and working with us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull up Unreal Engine. If you look, it's already connected. That's just because we've been messing around. Let me pull up KOS real quick. Oops. Put that back down to 0. And I'm going to kill this and cast a little bit of a screen hog. I just want to get it moved down a little bit so you can see what I'm trying to demonstrate. Okay, so when you connect to Unreal, in fact, let's go ahead and just trash this all together. We're going to start this brand new. We're going to do a new 3D live link source and add, and then that's it. That's all we need to do there. Listening to itself. So it's a different, if it's coming in from a different location, you'll need to put that in there. But if it's all on the same machine, it'll be just like this. So I'm going to bring up KOS, and watch what happens when I hit test. You see it connect, and you see this. Watch that little yellow, or that yellow just means the connection exists. Green means data is being transferred, okay? So that means that we are connected, and if I move anything on here, you'll see the green is on there. And if we go back to this, and let's move around somewhere where we can get this camera in view, okay? I'm going to pull KOS back up, and let me do a pan, and we should see the fake camera and the real camera are both moving at the same time. If we do tilt, they both tilt at the same rate, and the same angle. Oh, hold on, tilt. That looks good. And then same with slide. And you see it took a little jump there because there was some old data loaded in this. I'm going to slide over this way. So yeah, it looks good. We have it connected and working now. So next step is that we're going to want to actually launch this as an end display. But first, then this is really critical, go back into Live Link and go to presets and create this and save it as a preset, okay? And just go ahead and hit save. You can name it whatever you want. This is important because if not, when you launch the Unreal, the end display, it would not automatically create this connection. So that preset will create the connection so it'll know that it needs to talk to it. So we're going to go to File or Project Settings. And if we do Live Link, Default, right here, okay, plugins, Live Link, Default Live Link Preset. You're going to want to select this and go to that and select it. And make sure you have that on there. Without it, it's not going to automatically start it. So we're just going to go ahead and say that looks good. So we're going to go back to Live Link, and it's got the preset. Everything looks good there. Okay, cool. So now let's go ahead and see what we can do to get the in-display going. So it's actually been a few days from the tutorial now versus getting the Unreal portion set up. So I'm just going to take a quick second and make sure I've got the wrong, oh my gosh, all that stuff. I want to make sure that my Cinema Camera Actor is set up right, okay? So Super 35, that's right. 30 millimeters centered, that looks good. We're looking for the aperture for the current f-stop. Current focal length. All right, we're going to change that to 24. Not f-stop. I was wanting the focal length is the word I was trying to find. All right, now that that's all set up, we should be good. So what we're going to want to go ahead and do at this point is we want to launch the switchboard. Once you launch it, if you haven't done this before, it's going to take it a few minutes to install, and you're just going to kind of have to babysit it, and that might take a little bit of time. But once you have it, it's going to show up as a desktop icon, and you can actually launch it rather than even bothering to launch Unreal. So you can go straight to the end display from your desktop. So we're just going to go ahead and launch Switchboard. I already have it here, but we're going to launch it, and we're going to rebuild all of it. Okay, we're going to take this from scratch. So I'm going to launch the Switchboard. And we're going to bring that over here. And we are going to just go ahead and settings, config, delete current configuration. Yes. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a new configuration to this. So new config. And it's going to ask you to find the directory with where the project is. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to browse. And this is going to take me, believe, to, let's see. So I'm going to go to browse. I'm going to go to me, documents, Unreal projects, CineShooter Unreal, CineShooter KOS Unreal, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select that, and I'm going to hit OK. And now I need to build two devices. The first device is going to be the end display. And all I'm going to have to do is hit populate, and it should find it, and hit OK. If it doesn't find it, you're going to have to dig. But that's the end display config you have in the content drawer, so there's ways to get there. So go ahead and hit OK. And now I want to add one more device. I'm going to add an Unreal instance. I'm going to name it Editor. And I'm going to give it the IP address of 127.0.0.1 because that's the IP address that's going to be running the editor, which is the same computer. So we're going to hit that. Now I want to make sure that these both connect up. Okay. All right, that looks good. And I'm just going to go ahead and see what happens. Let's just launch this. All right, I forgot. You got to select your level. So Mushroom Cave VP ready. This is the level we're wanting to do. At least I hope that's the level we're wanting to do. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to launch the node. Sorry, I was all over the place there for a second, but you know. Okay, and then you can see on the screen over here, it's beginning to load up. And this can take a minute, so okay, there we go. And look at it. It's looks like it's going to be active. You're going to lose your cursor. So what you're going to do is you hit your Windows key, or Command, I guess, if you're doing this on Mac for some reason. And then you'll get your cursor back. And we're just going to go ahead and move KOS over here. And I'm just going to go ahead and do a pan. Let's see what happens. There it is. Perfect. I'm going to do tilt. I'm going to do pan again. And you see everything's out of focus on it, and especially what you can see in here. And there is a little bit of lag here, but that's not too big of a problem. It just you just kind of got to work within your reasons. I mean, this computer here has a 1080 Ti graphics card, so it's not exactly a fast graphics card, and it can still handle this. Stop motion, time lapse, this is not a problem at all. Even some real-time movement works pretty good. Let's go ahead and move the slider. You can see we get nice parallax on there. Run it back. So this is all pretty cool. So yeah, right now that's a slider, pan, and tilt. I'm going to go ahead and end this one, and we're going to move on to the next tutorial where we are going to cover more in depth of interesting things you can do. Here's a little sneak preview. I'm going to go over here to URE status, and I've got this X position, and look at this. I can move it. So if I want to move the Y position, this is camera 1. Okay, so I can move the camera directly with these sliders. But what I can also do is I can associate other assets to other cameras in here and start moving things around that way, which is going to be really freaking cool. But anyway, that's it for this one. So we'll see you on the next video.